We're Blokbuild. We're a digitally manufactured construction system based in Hull, and we've created a digital timber system that solves a massive challenge. It's highly sustainable, it's completely customizable for architects, and it's simple enough to build by anyone, anywhere. The radical idea. So what is the radical idea? We've developed digital tools to deliver innovative budget construction projects, high budget construction projects that can revolutionize the way that community-led homes are made. And we're looking at these radical ideas and how real connections have helped us explore them, or how real connections might help us realize this. The digital manufacturing can empower communities to create a sense of place and belonging. It might not seem like those two things can go together, but they really do, and we'll go through how we've worked with community groups to deliver that. We're learning to build changes the way that you feel about the place. When you help build it, you understand it, and that turns the building into a home. So our origins, this was made in Hull. This was engineered and fabricated using complex geometries and engineering, and we've come up with a simple solution and new ways of building, which now we deliver for housing. So this was made in Hull. This was Europe's longest sculpture, and we now use that same technology to simplify how homes are built. So that was where we started. This is a project. It's a 2025 Grand Designs project built just over the Humber Bridge, with using actually the Giroscope install team helped us put this together. And this sort of project just simply wouldn't be viable without the technology that we're developing. And you can say this is quite an extreme example with all the curvatures and all the kind of geometries that went into this building. This is a private residential home in North Lincolnshire. I'll just run through some other examples of projects that we've delivered. So we used our offsite system to deliver a highly accessible home in a restricted tight access site. This was for someone that wanted independent living, and it had hoists throughout the building, so they could come with a car and actually make their way around the building inside themselves, with carers living on the mezzanine level upstairs. But this was also down a very limited access road, so we got everything in by smaller vehicles, and then completed the build. This project was in Keats Grove in North London, which proves that the digitally manufactured building can sit beautifully in any sort of area, in historic areas or sort of in context. And another one which was a winner of a Mansa Medal, proving that the digital construction can future-proof homes against climate change. So this was actually designed so that it sits above the floodplain on the side of the Thames, and the water levels can go up and down, and the home remains habitable. Another example where we worked with a partner architect to deliver a very sort of ambitious diamond-shaped garden studio. This was all built in the factory in Hull, and then disassembled and taken to site near Northampton and put back together to sort of demonstrate, that demonstrates that we can use the cassettes and the system to form complex geometries. Another one working with collaborative architecture. This is North Farm, a project that won planning permission by proving that it was a paragraph 84 house, which proved that the building system is truly innovative, and they got planning in this rural location on the back of that. It's always nice. So it's always nice when we have some validity from our partners. So Alice from 51 Architecture, who designed the building in North London, she said that the system offers a way to build using digital craftsmanship, where a significant portion of the construction skill is in the design of the construction system. Installation on site is rapid, clean, and quiet, and does not rely on specialist skills for assembly. And this is exactly why we do what we do. You can see here we design in a 3D environment. So this is in a 3D software called Rhino, and it's a digital twin. So even with complex geometries or cassettes, we call them, what we design here on the left is exactly what's produced on the right. Everything down to the screw holes is designed in the 3D software, and then that is what's produced on the CNC machine. This is another example of the shark tooth roof that we did on another project with the fin walls for Keats Grove. This Keats Grove was our largest, most complex project, and it shows how we use 3D modelling to bridge the gap between engineering and architectural vision. So we worked with our partner engineers who are Price and Myers, the architect 51, and we worked backwards and forwards in collaboration to get this model correct, but also to fully engineer the spans and the 3-story elements and the vaulted roof and dormer windows, and then we put that into a 3D model. And this is the digital clone that I was sort of mentioning, where everything in the model is as we produce it and how we fabricate it. So the real connections. So the radical ideas is kind of what we've been doing for the last 10 years in producing the system. The real connections is what happens when we apply this technology to what might be a simpler way of building in the built environment. So the same tools can create very different kinds of value in community settings. So it's not just the kind of one-off bespoke architecturally designed. By simplifying the construction, we unlock community potential to shape growing neighbourhoods. I'm going to talk about to show what community value actually means in practice. I'm going to have a look at live partnerships that we've got that we've been running. So we've got St Chad's Cricket Club in Leeds, where we worked with Leeds Beckett University architectural students, cricket club members, and also social responsibility volunteers to build the project. We've worked with We Can Make in Bristol, which is a community-led housing organisation, where we set up a micro factory in Bristol, and the people at point of need of housing worked in the factory to build their own homes. And then we've worked with Giroscope on the rear extensions at St Nectans. With St Chad's Pavilion, we've got a short video that we're going to show you. It's 5 minutes, so if you just like to watch that, it gives you the perspective from the architecture school students and also the cricket club members. So I'm going to lead into that slide now and let that play. So that's better put than I have just done it. So yeah, and that's that building has just been completed. They actually used members from the cricket club who were different trades and electricians, plumbers, had contacts to finish the whole building. So that's now enabled them to have a cafe, which brings revenue for the cricket club on match days, and it gives them their kind of pavilion for the club for years to come. So it was really an interesting project for us. So in terms of engagement, we worked with Leeds Beckett University students to design the building, and all of this was within a 12-month period. So we worked with Leeds Beckett University students to design the building. We went through the planning stage. We worked with Sport England and Cricket England to raise some funding to build the superstructure, and then we worked actually with the volunteers to install the building, as well as working with another housing charity who we were training on site for the on-site build element for their next project. So What they didn't tell us is that there were going to be different groups of volunteers every day. So we had to go through that process of teaching or demonstrating how the system works with different groups each day. But yeah, as it said in the video, it was a week to get from sort of where the slab had been poured by another contractor to get the superstructure up and watertight, and then other trades followed on as and when they had the funding. We demonstrated the scalability of the system as well. So the cassettes, the timber cassettes that we machine and manufacture, they can be made to any scale. So knowing that we were working with student groups and volunteer groups, we made the cassettes like manhandleable size, so they were easy to lift into place. And all the lifting equipment we use is hand operated and very safe to use. So there's no heavy plant on site, no cranes, no forklifts. So it's a very sort of safe, simple environment to build using the system. Another project example was We Can Make in Bristol in Northwest. We worked with We Can Make through an Innovate UK project back in 2020, and that led us to looking at how we could facilitate and set up community-led factories to actually make the homes locally. So it was people at point of need of housing who were got some funding to buy a CNC machine, put it in a local council-owned workshop on an industrial site, trained some of the volunteers and some of the people that were going to be living in the homes how to use the machines, how to manufacture the system, design the homes with them through public engagement, and actually delivered the homes to site using contractors from a mile radius of their base in Northwest, and the actual residents that were going to be living in the homes had a real hands-on kind of involvement in the build. So there were two micro sites. So they were back garden developments. They were to British space standards, so they were real size family homes, a 2-bed and a 1-bed in a sort of in an area of South Bristol. One of the residents, John, he moved into Belstone Terrace. This is a quote from him: "We're literally building our community from the bottom up, and that's the most important thing to come out of this. It's given me ownership of my community. It's giving people different choices, better choices about how things can be." And John was very involved in the whole process. He'd worked as a technician in a like a tech college, like a building college in South Bristol. He'd sort of fallen on hard times, come out of work, but he had all the skills that we needed to actually contribute to finishing the homes and to being involved in building the homes, and he worked right the way through the design process, designing his own home and sort of tweaking what elements he would like to have, and then actually being hands-on and delivering it, helping us. Can see here, this is John with actually the host home at the front. So the Bristol City Council split the gardens of these council-owned homes, and they paired the resident with the host, and they made sure that relationship worked before they kind of offered the home to the new resident, and it worked really well. And then we used, as I said, local contractors, so that was quite a hard thing to do. So we had to use contractors from within a mile radius of We Can Make's workshop, which is in South Bristol. Luckily, a lot of the trades live in South Bristol, but when you don't have those connections and you don't have those real sort of contacts in an area that's away from home, it can be quite tricky. But we found it, once we put it out into the community, and they found out it was for the community, there was a lot more take up. And then we worked with Giroscope on the St Nectans Close. These were two rear extension kitchen sort of additions to a pair of semi-detached, I think it was. And the volunteer teams from Giroscope actually came into the workshop. This is Millie. She's now working with me on site on this job as well. She was this was one of her first projects in the workshop, but also on site with us. And we went from the workshop and the assembly to on site in around three weeks to kind of, from start to finish, something like that. I think this sort of goes back to what I was saying about the digital twin. So with the volunteer groups and with the workshop guys that we have in the factory, we always had to have a digital clone on the screen, and that shows the whole context of the building, and then they can pick out from that 3D model a cassette that they're building, and they can see exactly which part goes where and how it goes together, and all those parts are uniquely referenced. That's Millie, who's actually working on this project as well. And you can see on the site, even the site process, lifting the larger beams, we use hand lifting tools. So this is a hand operated genie lifter. It just winds up and we're able to lift larger panels onto the roof, and it's a full system. So we do floors, walls and roofs. We're now sort of working with, this is another example, another project, working with Your Space, a community-led housing co-op in York for their phase 2 of Acomb, Lowfield in Acomb in York, and this is taking our system to a new scale. We're now building mid-rise, so it's a 3-story block of flats with a community building that will be built next year, which is going to have involvement from the community. So we're building the main block of flats using our standard install team, and then the lower section of that building that you can see is going to be built by the community members as a sort of co-space to work in. That's due to be on site Q3 this year, so we've got to really get on with this one. It's interesting because this is our first pilot, and this is another Innovate UK kind of funded project where we've developed a hemp infill for the cassettes at Lowfield. So this is our first pilot of a bio-based system. So what you're seeing here is our standard timber cassette, but now using sustainable hemp block insulation. It makes the cassette slightly heavier, but it's way more sustainable. And I think as we're coming to the end, it'd be good to kind of have a look at what the future could look like for community-led and co-housing groups in the area, and how communities could work together. So yeah, that is the presentation. If there's any questions, let me know. Also, there's my email address on here, general email address, and a LinkedIn and a link to the website if anybody's wants to have a look.